Welcome back, class, to another live stream of Shut Up and Draw, where we chill, listen to some tunes, and draw on either screen or paper. My name is Sonia, and I'm a motion designer who likes to illustrate. Subscribe if you haven't already. We live stream every Tuesday and Friday. And if you'd like to support me, you can like this video, comment, and share it with your friends. And today, I am planning to continue the mindfulness stickers that I have been working on for the past few Shut Up and Draw sessions. And yeah, let's get into it. I'm a little bit nervous about that because the perspective didn't quite work out for me in the last stream. And yeah, I'm not entirely sure how to continue that drawing. And also the other drawings that still need to be created feel a little bit daunting, to be honest. So I hope I can make it work and that it's going to look okay. And since it's Shut Up and Draw and we listen to tunes, I'm going to turn on those tunes. I have some nice retro lo-fi happening. It takes a little while until it gets going. Okay, you should be able to hear something. Okay, there we go. Alright, so let's have a look at what we've got. These are some of the illustrations that I, in your company, have created. Hi, Mr. M, welcome to the stream. And yeah, so these are the sketches. I'll turn them off for a moment. These are some of the creations I've illustrated before I started streaming this process. This is one that I created on the stream. Looks like this. This is supposed to be the crying emoji. Still not 100% finished because these like water lines are not quite working for me yet. And now this is the perspective, this weird perspective I was talking about. And also, you can't see the potato anymore. It just looks like an egg. I guess the potato character doesn't need to be recognizable because if you see it within the set of stickers, you would recognize it as the potatoes instead as these like spots, and it's the same color as the other potato sketches. But this was kind of the idea. I was going for this type of vibe. But I didn't like how this just kind of cuts off. I have seen stickers done that way, where they just cut off so you don't have the legs of one of the characters because it would make it too long and you wouldn't be able to see the face. But yeah, I'm just... And then I decided to add the legs and all hell broke loose. That was just completely messy. So, I think I'm just going to ignore that particular sketch. And maybe I'll just go for like one of these. So we need new artboards. I will just take these two, and with Shift O I can access the artboards, and when I hold Shift and Alt it stays in the same line and duplicates them. I don't know if there is if I have a particular... Oh, well, it also duplicates the layers. I don't want that, so I'm going to lock those layers. I could also turn off this toggle, which is move copy artwork with artboard, if I didn't want the artwork to be copied when I'm duplicating this or when I'm dragging any artboard. But you can also just lock the layers, and that way they won't get copied when you are duplicating artboards. So that's quite handy to know about how artboards work. And well, I don't have a name for these yet. So I've named the artboards after the emoji that they would be linked to once they are stickers. And I'm talking about messenger stickers in case you were not here for some of the previous streams. And I think this is quite cute for having a small character and a smiling character. The arms are a little bit weird, so I don't know how I'm going to solve that. And then we have the laugh crying emoji, which could be something like this. So let's get one of the smiling characters. I'm sure I have one like this one, for example. Why can I not see the outlines of things? Have I turned off? Oh, I'm clicking the sketches, that's why. And this is locked, okay. Copy. Let's go down to the other artboard. Control Shift V to paste in place in another artboard. And now what we can do with this is, first of all, I want the smiley eyes, so these ones. And that's, of course, in a different position. That's okay. I can just remove that. And maybe we'll have, like, diagonal lines. Which one is the... Here, I'm looking for the graphic styles that I set up for this. This one is one of them. I can use this one. Oh, it's a bit long. And what I'm trying to achieve with this is like a kind of like a blush situation. And then with Control D, I can duplicate that distance. Maybe it shouldn't be quite so uniform. Maybe I can... I wonder if I can... Oh, no. Okay. Wait. If I hold Shift and Alt. Okay. That's weird looking. Okay, you can see that I'm not... Okay, what's happening? There we go. You can see that I'm not super... I don't have a particular plan on how I'm going to do this. I was hoping I could find the center of this. Okay. So I'm using O to flip this around, but that's not gonna work. Oh no! Switched keyboards. Yeah, that's not gonna work. I want this. Nope. I want this here. No. That looks extremely awkward. Okay, I'll just leave it like this for now, and then I'll figure it out later. I don't know what blush should look like, so... Anyway, so she's happy, and I keep saying she. It's a non-gendered character. Really. Could be a she, could be a him, could be a non-binary they. But, you know, I tend to identify with myself, and I'm a she, so I tend to say she to this character. Okay, so let's have a look at the sketch again. Okay. So it's smaller for sure. Yeah, kind of like that size, I guess. I'll take these hands away for a moment. Hey Streaks, welcome to the stream. It's going okay. It's super hot here in Munich, which is good and bad. I like it hot, but some people, like my partner, cannot stand the heat, so he's suffering a little bit. And I'm struggling with perspective, as always. So, I don't know how this is gonna go. And I'm slowly, just before I went live, I was reconsidering even working on this illustration, because I'm starting to feel a little bit frustrated with it. It's not going the way I would like it to go. And yeah, I don't know. I just don't know. So, yeah. I actually thought, how would you feel about this? I started editing down some of the, like, little snippets from past animation collab live streams into little tutorial snippets. No, the cybersecurity work is not over, but we only do animation collab, which that cybersecurity video is part of. It's part of that live stream series. We do that on Tuesdays, and on Fridays I do Shut Up and Draw, where I'm illustrating different projects. So there are 2 different live streaming series that run parallel, each on a different day. And I was just considering to swap out Shut Up and Draw on Fridays with Work Watching, which is my video editing, well, kind of my editing live stream series, because I have some exciting editing work planned. I've been editing some of my live streams and cropping them down into short bite-sized tutorials. Whenever I manage to say something relatively concise, I thought, hey, why not cut that down to a tutorial? I think that might be interesting and useful for you out there. And I have a whole bunch that I'd like to do. And I've been in the past 3 days, I've been working on this template situation in Premiere Pro, where I created like this super complex MoGUT in After Effects as well. A MoGUT is a motion graphics template, so it's kind of like a packaged graphics template where you can like change the text and colors and positioning of things. And so I finished that. I started editing. I have like 3 or 4 small 2 to 3 minute tutorials ready to upload. And if you were interested in seeing me actually edit those tutorials, we could swap out Shut Up and Draw on Fridays with work watching, where you can watch me edit those videos. If that's interesting to you, then let me know either in the comments or in the chat right now, and we might do that, because right now I'm like really in this space where I'm like, oh my god, I have so many ideas what I could like make into this small tutorial. And I mean, I have a huge archive of video content, of live stream content, 38 live stream episodes for the animation collab series only. So yeah, if you're interested in that, do let me know, and I might swap that out, because I'm getting a little bit fed up with this illustration project. I'm not fed up in the sense that I don't want to do it or that I don't want to finish it. Fed up in the sense that it's not going the way I'd like it to, and I think I just need a little bit of a break from it before I continue working on it. So that's what I mean by fed up. So yeah, I'd really like to work a little bit more on video editing right now, just because I'm like in that space. My headspace is in that place right now. So might be interesting. I'm not sure what I'm doing here. How does an arm behave when you're holding it lower than before? I guess this is kind of okay. This can go lower, I would say. I mean, this is not perfect, but it's definitely looking better than this, whatever that is. I think this is already going miles better than that other one. The only thing I don't like is this weird... This is too bulbous. And this is not bulbous enough. This elbow is a little too sharp. And then this hand can be like here. Rotated, of course. Oh no. Moved it. I can either have this arm like, or this hand kind of like hidden away, or I can do it like this, where it's like... Oh no. So the idea is it looks something like this, okay. So I don't think... Oh, that's my screen protector. Oh, it's not screen protector, it's like my block screen, so I stand up once in a while. And I don't think that we necessarily need to see the knees up like that. I think this would actually be okay. What's happening here? Yeah, do we have something leg-like here? Not really. I've got this, but... Well, maybe I can use part of this. Can maybe use like this much of it. That's a lot of leg. Oh, no, that's not it. Nope. And I can put that like behind. Actually, I don't know of a lot of streamers. There is Evan Abrams. He is also a motion designer who does tutorials and live streams. But honestly, I don't know of a lot of motion designers, so the stuff that you saw me on the last stream, I don't know of a lot of people who do that. Oh god, that looks terrible. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, maybe we just need a little more leg. So yeah, I've been trying to find some myself because I like this type of content, but it's kind of difficult. It's difficult to find them, to be honest. This is terrible. Okay, I'm getting a little frustrated with this illustration, to be quite honest with you. This is not working out for me. I think I'm just going to make the executive decision that we are going to swap out Shut Up and Draw with work watching, and we're just gonna do a little bit of that for a while, because this is kind of terrible and I need to take a break from this. Yeah, this is not working out. Ugh. Oh no. Okay, so the hair needs to be behind. This works a little better. It needs to still be... Aw, thanks. Thanks, Azul Purpura. That's very sweet of you. Although I'm not sure if that's true, seeing as I'm so frustrated with this illustration. It's like, it's okay. This looks okay, but I want it to look better than okay. So I'm not super happy with this yet. Oh god. I don't like it. I don't like it. Well, honestly, I'm not entirely sure what to do because I'm now at a stage. Do you get this sometimes when you're doing something creative and it's not going how you expected and you kind of have to struggle through that you just want to stop doing it and just like go do something different? That's kind of how I feel right now. If you have any questions for me, we could do like a Q&A if you like, because I think I need to just not look at this illustration for a little while. And instead, I could maybe show you some of my past work. I know it's not exactly drawing, but I do feel like I need to keep it within the illustration sphere at least. So how about I just open up my Instagram, or better yet, I will show you my sketchbook. I need to grab it from up there. Okay, I'll be right back. Alright, here we are. I know a little bit of Spanish. Hola, ¿qué tal? I've been trying to study Spanish since before I went to Colombia, which for a holiday, not like to live. And that was in 2013, I think. So I like really quickly tried to learn a little bit of Spanish before going there. And I've been trying to keep up my studies since then, like on and off, very sporadically. And it's like, I think I can say that I can understand some Spanish songs, and if you don't use very complicated sentence structure and don't have a strong accent, I can probably understand some of it, but I wouldn't say that I'm proficient. Hey, cool! Welcome from Mexico! Oh, Mexico is one of the places I definitely still want to go to. So is Peru and Bolivia. A friend of mine did like this trip from... Well, not from. He went to Cuba, Bolivia, and another place, which I don't remember. And because of... He wrote a blog. He used to be like a travel agent type person, and he wrote a blog post about his trip. And when I read it, I'm like, oh my god, I have to go to Cuba. And I did a few years ago, like 3 years ago, I think. It was absolutely amazing. It was... And I consumed a lot of documentaries before going to kind of educate myself, like what was Cuba like back in the day? How has it changed? What's the political situation? And I found this really good documentary of this guy, this American guy, and he went to Cuba over like multiple decades. So he kept coming back and he kept documenting like his experiences, the changes. He kept revisiting friends that he had there, and kind of you could see the transition of their life and how it all played out throughout the decades. I think he started going in like 60s or 70s. And then went there the last time, I think it was like 2014 or 16 or something like that. And you could really tell from that documentary how much of a tourist shift there was in like the late 2010s. And yeah, and I had the same experience. So as the documentary described, there are places that are still very rural and just for the Cuban people, so to speak, and then there are places that are made for tourists or where tourism is more prevalent. And I had that same experience, and it was amazing. It was an amazing place. I did 1 week with, I don't know why I'm like expanding on my Cuba experience, but it was a very beautiful holiday. And now you made me think of it, mentioning Mexico. Or South America in general, or, well, I guess Cuba isn't part of South America, it would be Central America, just like Mexico. But let's say Latin America, I think that would describe it more accurately. Yeah, and I had a week of like a tour, like a group tour with a Cuban tour guide. And then 1 week of like just solo traveling. Actually, a friend of mine came to visit and it was just the two of us. So I had a week to kind of suss out what was going on, how to do things in Cuba. And then I like took him around like some of the places that I've seen, and that was really, really cool. And ever since then, I was like, I have to go to all of these other countries in Latin America. And I've been to Colombia, so that was like another impression for me. I'm like, I love this. I love salsa. I love the heat. I love just like the Latin flavor to things, to life as a concept, you know? So I really enjoyed it. Yeah. So Mexico's definitely another place I'd like to go to. Alright, so I've got my sketchbook and we can go through some of my sketches that I've done. And, oh yeah, this was, okay, so 2020, Inktober 2020, I decided, let's partake in Inktober. But from the start, I kind of decided, okay, it's not going to be, I need to take one earmuff off because I'm speaking quite loudly because of my headphones. And, so I decided to take part in Inktober, but I said to myself, I'm not going to do it every day. I actually started prepping some of the sketches so I can maybe at least post every day. But I was like, as soon as it gets too stressful, I'll just do what I can. And this was the first sketch. It was fish. It's a little dark. Actually, I have an ink drawing of that. Okay, so here's my fish. I'll refocus to that. I am quite proud of this. I have to say it's not my own design as such. It's this style of fish. I found an inspiration on Pinterest, and then I kind of created my own fish in this sort of like line sketch style. So this sort of like the I don't know what it's called, but the shading where you use like just lines for shading. I don't know if you can see that. So yeah, just keep in mind that this is not necessarily my idea, this style, but it is my illustration, if that makes sense. I'll just leave myself blurry for now so that I can keep holding up the sketches. And then, oh my god, I was really proud of this one. I love this one. And I found a few inspiration sketches that had like this girl looking off, or woman, whatever you want to call it, looking off into the distance, and then with like the wind in her hair, kind of like this, and again with these like lines indicating the shading, and where there are less lines, that's kind of the highlights. And so this was more of my idea because I just found a few inspiration images that I kind of meshed together. So there are a few stages of illustration. There is master copies where okay, so I'll reframe myself. I'll start that sentence again. So there are different ways of approaching illustrations especially when you're a beginner. There is master copies where you imitate somebody's work and try to get it as close to the original as possible. So this is not your design, this is not your artwork, you're essentially just trying to study a master's work. So they're master copies because you're creating a copy of a master. I think this originated in, or is a practice with illustration or fine art students that go to museums and copy masters. So it's a study. Okay, this is not something like, you shouldn't be copying an artist and say, look what I did. It's not really your work. It's more for you to study. So that's the purpose of a master study. Then the next step is getting multiple pieces of inspiration and mashing them together to create a new art form, which then theoretically or practically is your design or your creation, because you didn't just copy one person's thing, you copied multiple, or not copied, but you took inspiration from multiple different looks and created your own. So that's already a step further than just a master copy. And that's what I would think or define this one as. This would be like the second step. It's not something that came exactly out of my own head, but it is something that I put together with various pieces of inspiration. And then the next level, I mean, there could be more levels in between that, but the next level is something that you come up with without inspiration from other artists, maybe inspiration from nature or your environment, but not necessarily inspiration from other art, and you create the whole thing on your own, draw it, illustrate it, whatever materials you're using, and that would be your original work. So that's how I would kind of categorize the stages of studying illustration or becoming a proficient illustrator when you're just starting out. And meshing copy, yeah, that's a good way of calling it. And I would still count myself in that second stage. So I don't think I'm a very proficient illustrator. I would think of myself as a proficient animator or motion designer, but illustration is still something I'm learning. So there are things that I come up with by myself, like the mindfulness illustrations, which I'm just trying to find now. That is a good question. Does work without inspiration actually exist? Inspiration. Did I say expiration? I don't think work without inspiration exists 100%. You are always influenced by your surroundings, by things that you consume, but there's a difference between being inspired by other people's work and kind of that sparking ideas and incorporating somebody else's artwork or style even into your own work. I think there is a really clear distinction that needs to happen between being inspired and liking a style and incorporating that one. As long as you're still making, as long as you're still elevating that to something else, that's still your original work, even though you might have incorporated some style essences from somebody else's work. But being inspired in general, just consuming things, and maybe you like a particular color palette and that's what inspires your color palette, I think that's a little bit different though, because you're then not just taking one particular thing from another artist and incorporating that, but it's just a general concept of me, for example. I like bright pastel colors. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of artists that create artwork with bright pastel colors. You know, that's not really a specific thing tied to one particular artist, whereas maybe a certain type of line style or a certain type of shading style might be recognizable for one particular artist. And if you incorporate that, that doesn't necessarily mean you're copying them, but if it ends up looking like their work, even though it's maybe your own like drawing, maybe they drew an apple and you drew a monkey and it looks the same, but if somebody can look at two images side by side and say, yeah, that's from the same person, then you're walking a very fine line between inspiration and copying. Or I think you've then actually crossed that line. So the images I was showing you earlier, that's the mindfulness, the illustration pack that we were working on at the beginning of the stream. And that's definitely something that came out of my brain, which is why I'm like so excited to work, or I was so excited to work on that. And now a little bit less so, because as I said, my abilities as an illustrator are still in the beginner stages, maybe like intermediate. I'm not a complete beginner, but I'm not a complete pro. So sometimes I really struggle with creating something in Vector, in Illustrator. Sometimes it's the perspective that I can't get right. So those moments I really realize it's like, oh, okay, I'm not there yet. I'm not at a level I would like to be yet, not yet. So yeah, and these were the sketches that we've been working on now, and I tied them to the emoji. Where am I here? I also tied them to the emoji I would like to link with that illustration. But yeah, as you can see, they're okay. They're not bad. I'm quite happy with them, but they're still, yeah, they're okay. They're fine. They're just fine. They're not, they're not excellent. And maybe they need to be, I don't know. But yeah, so there was a time I did a lot of illustrating, but now going through my sketchbook, there isn't actually that much illustrating that I did. There is the original sticker pack, this one, which I called the graduation cap, the kawaii grad pack. Here we are. And that's a static sticker pack that I actually released on a few of the messaging apps. I can show you the final outcome of that. That one was like a test run, you know, before I was doing the one that I'm doing now, the mindfulness one. Let me just search on my Instagram for that. It's quite a while back now that I was working on that. And that one's also not perfect. There's things I would have maybe changed. Let me change the size of the window. Doesn't want to do what I want it to do. Okay, cool. So this is that one, and it's a series. If you're interested in hearing more about how I came up with this, why I came up with this, my process of creating it, I actually wrote a few blog posts about that. You can go to blog.sonjageracek.me, and the link should be in the profile description, or at least should be there soonish, and it's one of these. Yeah, like I said, it was a bit back here. Why it's hard to complete a project, and if you don't design, are you a motion designer? So I contemplated a little bit my position as a motion designer, that I don't focus on illustrations. So I am a motion designer, because a lot of motion designers do illustrate, you know? So it's a bit of a difference there. I'll turn some music on. Yeah. So that's where I'm at, and so some of the other illustrations that I did for Inktober before I completely gave up, I think I did, so that was 1, 2, and actually I recreated this as a digital illustration. So if you're interested in watching me illustrate this in Illustrator, you can go to my YouTube channel, and there is a playlist. Let me find that for you. There is a Shut Up and Draw playlist of the process of me creating that. A total of 5 videos, so 5 sessions where I created the digital illustration of this fish illustration. I never posted that, actually. Even though it's supposed to be for Inktober, I never actually posted that. Then I tried to keep up with some of the other prompts. There was one prompt that was bulky. Okay. So Inktober, if you don't know, is a challenge in October, and it's about inking to certain prompts. So there's like fish, hair, or maybe it was like floating or something like that. For the hair one, it was wisp. A wisp of hair is what I defined it as. Then there was bulky, just this one. Again, it's okay. Some of the shading is like, it's going in the right direction. It's not, in German you'd say it's not the yellow of the egg. It's, yeah, it's a funny German saying. Yeah, it's not quite there yet, but it's okay. Then there was radio, I think. Is this radio? Yeah, there's radio. So I created this like 80s style cassette player. What do I enjoy the most? I enjoy animating the most, I have to admit. It's my passion, it's always been my passion. And let me show you one more. My saber. This is where I kind of stopped caring. I'm like, I don't know where I'm going with this. Yeah, I started with motion graphics very early on during my studies. This was, I think, rodent as a prompt. I went to a university, the University of Abertay Dundee in Scotland, and that course I took there was computer arts, and it was exactly what it sounds like. It was all manner of art at the computer, so digital design, digital art, and it was basically, and this is the final iteration of that mouse. So that course was essentially, because Abertay is a games development uni, or heavily so, a lot of people who want to do games design or get into games design go there. A lot of artists that were in my course, they wanted to be or become concept artists for video games and movies and all that kind of stuff. I just went there because I didn't know what to study. I just knew that I wanted to do digital arts, so I went to a computer arts degree. And out of all the things that I studied, motion design was the thing that kind of trickled through. I had all kinds of courses. I had audio editing, sound engineering courses. I had games development, games design, 3D modeling, traditional frame-by-frame animation, life drawing, all kinds of classes. And we didn't have a class particularly on motion design, but something that always interested me was title sequences. And so I based my thesis on motion graphics title sequences, where I compared title sequences across countries as well for the same show, or different shows. I think it was within the horror drama genre or something like that, something very specific. And I compared a show's titles that differed between the US, the UK, and then I compared that against some of the title sequences you see on web shows or like YouTube videos and things like that. And this was back in 2012. And so I created a title sequence, a kind of like alternate title sequence to this show that I was studying as, so I was not, this wasn't coursework. Sorry, I should have explained that this was my final project, okay? So I could study, I could make my thesis or write my thesis on anything I wanted, and I had to produce a piece of work with that. And so I decided to create a title sequence, an alternate title sequence to a particular show, and I created one in the UK style, in the US style, and what it might have looked like for a web series, so internet style, and I wrote a thesis on that. And that was the first time I think even touched After Effects. So I basically, because we didn't have a course on motion design at the time, because I was researching the term motion graphics, motion design, I could barely even find literature on the subject. So I really was like at the very beginning of that sort of term of being a motion designer. I mean, the concept has existed for a long time. You could argue that title design has been around since movies have been around, and that was the earliest form of motion design. And that's what I did argue in my thesis. But the term motion designer wasn't really established at the time. And a lot of people didn't understand what that meant to be a motion designer. So yeah, where was my train of thought? Yeah, so there wasn't a lot of literature on the subject, but that's really, oh yeah, there wasn't a lot of literature on the subject, so we didn't have any classes. It was all of the video making classes were on Mac. So we were actually mainly working in Final Cut Pro, at least the video editing side, and Motion, which is the Apple equivalent of Adobe's After Effects, wasn't very developed at the time. So the motion design I could do on those machines wasn't as advanced as something I could have achieved with After Effects at the time. So I actually got myself After Effects, learned it by myself. I didn't have classes for that. At the time, YouTube was kind of a thing. It was kind of becoming a resource for tutorials and stuff, but it definitely didn't have as many tutorials as there are nowadays. And yeah, I taught myself After Effects. I made my very first motion design animation, and I submitted it to my bachelor, and got a pretty good grade for it. Funnily enough, I was very proud of the project, but my written thesis got a higher grade than my project. I mean, I guess that's fair. It was my first project ever in After Effects, so I guess that's fair. But yeah, so as you can see, very early on, my passions lay in After Effects and in animation. Actually, you know what? I can show you the illustrations. Oh, the illustrations I did, because I did illustrate all of the graphics for that sequence. I can maybe show you the illustrations for that. There is this very old blog that used to live on Blogspot. So if you want to dig deep, you might be able to find my old blog. don't know how to get there anymore. Yes, here it is. Okay, let me find the right thing so I'm not just... Oh no! I took some videos off of my Vimeo and now they're no longer available on this blog. Okay, so here it is. This is one of the illustrations I took. This was one of the characters from that show. And the show was Once Upon a Time, so it's based on fairy tales, and there is the real world and there is the fairy tale world where the fairy tale characters are real people. And each person from the real world, it's a long story how the story plays out and why it is that way, but in the real world, every person has a fairy tale counterpart, so to speak. And so I kind of try to put that together and create these fairy tale style illustrations. Oh, and I just noticed that his arm is behind the back pillar, even though he's in front of it. Oh well. And I did that for all the main characters. This was Rumpelstilzchen, and this was the inspo for that. So there was a little bit of tracing involved, a little bit of own design, and yeah, it took me 9 hours per one of these characters. Oh my god, I still remember, because I would do like the 9 hours all the way through. I mean, I'd take a break to, you know, toilet and eat and food, but essentially 9 hours all the way through. And yeah. And if you notice, her hair is like relatively straight, and I try to add this like fairy tale-esque like design into it, where I like curled the hair a little bit. I had this reference image of from a storybook, and I was kind of trying to mix like the look of the real character or actor and the look of the fairy tale look. This is probably one of my favorite. Her chin got lost somehow. This is probably one of my favorites because I created this chair as well. These little swirls. I literally drew all of these by hand for hours. And so this is her. Yeah, I'm pretty proud of this. I mean, to be fair, they are more or less or a little bit traced, right? You have to take that into account, that I did have the image in the background and I was tracing more or less over it. So it's not like these came from my head. That's probably also why the proportions are like kind of okay. But yeah, there is a bit of ingenuity in there and a little bit of tracing as well. Yeah, and there, you can see that some of these have like just a tiny little bit too much detail. That's also a mark of a novice illustrator. And yeah, these are just some storyboard sketches for the animation. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I've got of that project. But yeah, I'm still pretty proud of that. I think if you're really interested, you can probably go to my Vimeo and find those videos. I'm pretty sure they are still there, so feel free to check them out. But I won't put them on blast right now because it is literally the first animation work I've ever done. So I've moved on. I got better, hopefully. Yeah, I hope that they feel unique. I mean, that was the idea, right? Kind of meshing this real world original photography style with this kind of romantic fairy tale book illustration, because fairy tale illustrations, or at least at the time, I had this like very specific idea of what they look like, and I got a really old book in this like antiques bookshop, and they were like that. I'm like, yes, this is it, this is the style. And I was like studying them, like, okay, how does the hair work? Okay, they have these like curls in the hair all the time. How does the line work? Look, you know, what's the style? So I tried to adapt those photos, or the style of the original photography, to this like fairy tale book style. So yeah, quite a bit of work went into that. But yeah, since then I haven't done a whole lot of illustration. Most of my work has either been graphic design work, because I worked at an internal comms agency in London, and we did motion design explainer videos, but also graphic design for leaflets, posters, banners, all this type of stuff. So I got a bunch of experience in graphic design, and I actually like layout work for like magazine pages and things like that. But yeah, and then I worked at an agency where I was literally just in the motion graphics department, and the illustration department was separate. So apart from now, during my freelance time, when I'm trying to teach myself illustration, or at least get into the habit of illustrating, I haven't been illustrating that much, you know? So my illustration skills are definitely a lot lower than my animation skills, that's for sure. Yeah. Alright, so we didn't do a lot of illustration today, but I hope you still enjoyed the walk down memory lane with my sketches and with my thesis work. And yeah, maybe we'll switch up the Fridays with work watching for a little while, so that we can churn out some tutorials. I'm sure those of you who tune in for the animation collab stream are anxious to find or watch some of my condensed tutorial content, and I've had it. There was like a barrier of entry a little bit for me, because for me tutorials are like 10 minutes plus, right? And that takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of planning. You need to have a script, an idea, because I also make online classes, right? And they are very particular. I follow a very strict structure. I have a lot of checks and checks in place so that I do it the right way, and then I can edit it the right way. But with tutorials, although it follows a similar format, that's period. It follows a similar format, and therefore it was a little bit daunting for me to get started, but now I kind of thought about it, and I'm creating these like shorts that you can upload on YouTube now. It's like on TikTok or Instagram Reels, you can upload these like up to 1 minute long videos, and I decided, okay, why not cut down these like very concise pieces of mini tutorials in 1 minute for YouTube. And as soon as I got into that, I'm like, well, this is much less work than like a whole planned tutorial. I might as well just create a whole bunch of these, because they are just as educational, maybe not as, without as many mistakes and jump cuts, but they are still really good content. And then as soon as I started doing those, I was like, well, why don't I expand those shorts? I can create the shorts, and then I can also create a longer tutorial where I cut out less of the stuff to make it fit in 1 minute, because a regular video can be longer than 1 minute. So yeah. Hi, welcome to the stream, although you're joining right at the end of it. But yeah, since you just joined, a quick announcement. I will be swapping Shut Up and Draw on Fridays with work watching, so we'll be doing video editing work instead of illustration because I need to step away from my illustration project. So we're going to be editing tutorials together. I'll be collecting some live streams where I find a few bits and pieces where I say something concise and interesting that would be worth sharing. And I'm gonna cut them down into small tutorial chunks, and you can come on the journey with me, and I'll tell you tips and tricks on video editing. I can show you my motion graphics template that I built for that, which is pretty extensive. And you can ask me questions about Premiere Pro, about video editing, about video editing workflow, best practices, and all of that stuff. I hope that sounds okay for you, even though I always announce that, you know, Tuesdays and Fridays, it's Animation Collab and Shut Up and Draw. But I hope you're going to find video editing interesting as well, because that's the thing that I'm zeroing in on right now. All right. Yeah, so I hope to see you next time. The stream is now at 6 p.m. CEST, which is Central European Summer Time. In case you didn't catch that, it used to always be at 5 p.m.-ish. The music stopped. I might as well take off my headphones. But since it's so sunny outside, it feels like a shame sitting inside at 5 p.m. CEST. So the streams are going to be at 6 p.m. now. And it's going to be Animation Collab on Tuesdays, and now work watching on Fridays instead of Shut Up and Draw. I need to decide if I need to change my marketing for that too, but I think I'm just gonna leave it. Oh no, does it? Oh, I changed that today, but maybe it's 5 p.m. your time. Is that possible? Are you maybe at 1 hour behind CEST? Perhaps it's that, or perhaps Twitch didn't my schedule, because I did update my schedule and I checked it earlier today, so I am sure I made those changes, but perhaps they weren't updated publicly yet, or perhaps it is showing at your specific local time. I don't know, but oh, my About page. Yes, thank you for reminding me about that. Yeah, I don't check that. I did not update that, so you're quite right. I must update that. Question, where is that? I find Twitch, I don't know if any of you are Twitch creators as well as viewers, but I find Twitch a little bit hard to like maneuver. There is always something where I'm like, what? Where do I find this specific thing I want to change? So that's super annoying. Ah! Okay, I'm on my channel now to see if I can just immediately change it. Okay, so it's definitely here. Edit panels. Okay, cool. So 6 p.m. and I might as well. Yeah, okay, let's just say 6 p.m. And I don't think I'm promising what type of stream they're going to be. I think some of my marketing, I think on Instagram, I promised that Fridays is Shut Up and Draw, but just, you know, just we'll be okay, right? If I just change out the streaming series. I am not German. Well, kind of technically no. Well, no, it would be the other way around. Technically, yes, because I have a German passport, but a passport doesn't really make you an identity, right? I was born in Slovakia, so I am Slovak by birth, so originally Slovak. I did grow up in Germany. I finished high school here, and then I left the country and I did my gap year in Australia, and then I went to the UK. And I lived many places. I lived on the Isle of Man, I lived on the Channel Islands, I lived in Southampton, I lived in Dundee, in Scotland, in Dundee, and then I lived in London, and that's the last place I lived in the UK. I lived there for 8 years, and then I moved to Munich, and that's where I am currently. Yeah. Oh, really? You left Germany for the UK as well? Yeah, it wasn't planned on my side, but I met somebody in Australia at the time who was from the Isle of Man, so that's why I moved to the Isle of Man. And then, life changed, and but I didn't want to return. I think I already thought of not returning to Germany when I was in Australia. I just didn't know where to go, and then the opportunity presented itself to move to the UK, and then I ended up studying there. And yeah, so yeah, I really love the UK, Scotland especially. It really feels like home. I lived there for a large portion, if not my entire 20s, I've spent in the UK. So it's a kind of a type of formative years. As an adult, definitely. And I enjoyed it a lot. I miss a lot of things. I have to now buy tea bags imported from the UK because we don't have that type of tea here. And they are like 3 times the price, if you can believe it. I buy like a pack of 350 tea bags, PG tips, for like, I think 17 euros, which I don't know what the difference between the rate between euros and pounds is, but just to give you an idea, a box of that many tea bags is £3 at Tesco's. So whatever the conversion rate is, that's still a huge fucking difference. But the kicker is that's still the cheapest type of tea bags in Germany. Can you believe this? It's just insane to me. And yeah, that's the type of tea I need. So before Corona, I had the opportunity to be in the UK at least once a year, so I could stockpile all of the cheap tea and bring it back with me. But now I have to just relent and buy the triple price bags. So that sucks. Maybe it's not £3, maybe it was like £5. But regardless, it's definitely like around the 3 times as expensive mark. Anyway, before I start remembering all of the things that I miss from the UK, mostly foodstuffs, I will... You're more of a coffee drinker. Yeah, fair enough. I never got into coffee. I've always been a tea drinker. I drink all kinds of tea. I drink it cold, I drink it hot, I'll drink it with milk, I'll drink it without, all kinds of tea. But that's like, I have a whole cupboard in the kitchen that's just tea. Like, not just, it's one shelf, but it's like a third of the entire cupboard is just tea. All right, I will close it off for today. Thank you for joining, and thanks for the lovely chat. Today there was a lovely back and forth. Really appreciate that. So I hope to see you back here just as enthusiastically as today. On Tuesdays we're doing Animation Collab, and on Fridays we're now doing work watching until I'm bored of that, and then we'll go back to Shut Up and Draw. Alright, I hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to support me, as always, you can hit the subscribe button, you can hit the thumbs up button, you can comment, you can share it with your friends, or if you'd like to support me monetarily, I do also have a Patreon where you can become part of the classroom and receive all types of goodies and bonuses, including expressions, project files, scripts, all kinds of good stuff that you will need as a motion designer to develop your skills and level up your expressions game. And I also have a Ko-fi and a Buy Me a Coffee where you can donate a one-off and support my caffeine addiction in terms of tea, not coffee though. All right, I'll see you soon. Bye.